right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. The team coming to the season probably had a lot of hype, more hype than anyone, but they've made some moves or potential moves for the future today that I think make them look very, very interesting.
Yeah, Miles, it's no doubt that the Lions continue to do a lot of smart things, especially things under the radar. That's why we appreciate talking about them, because they do a lot of great stuff that a lot of people don't cover. But before we get into that, Detroit fans, look only a few short days away from Thursday night kicking off the 2023 campaign. This is your last chance in the comment section below. Give us your prediction for the Lions' final record for the 2023 season. You guys seen all of training camp. You've seen all preseason. You know this roster better than everybody. So now's your chance to show your smarts. Give us your prediction for the Detroit Lions 2023 season in the comment section below. But all right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest out of Detroit?
Yeah, Nick. So Detroit has done a lot of very interesting stuff here recently. They've made a lot of great draft picks, a lot of good additions, but they are thinking of a future move here that, I'll be honest, when we started talking about the Lions a few short years ago, we never would have expected. When we talk about Jared Goff, we thought this guy was a stopgap. He was a replacement level quarterback. It was a guy that was coming into this organization to potentially just tide them over for the rebuild. But now he looks like he is the rebuild, and the Lions are thinking that as well, with a potential contract extension going forward. Let's get into the article, and then we can talk about it on the other side. This is from NBC Sports. It says, Lions quarterback Jared Goff has 2 years left on his current contract, and the prospect of extending his stay in Detroit has been a topic of conversation this offseason. Goff has a cap hit of just under $31 million this year and under $32 million next year, so a contract extension would be a way to create space for other moves. On Friday, Lions general manager Brad Holmes said that he has had a good dialogue with Goff's agents about a new deal, but didn't say whether anything would happen for Goff or guard Jonah Jackson, who's in the final year of his rookie contract as well. He said, we've kept the open dialogue with our agents in camp, and I think the transparency has been good, so we'll see how it goes, Holmes said via David Burkett of the Detroit Free Press. But Nick, this is really interesting. I'm glad the Lions, they have seen the light. Jared Goff has played out of his mind the last few seasons. He's looking really, really good for this team, and they're potentially looking to extend him for the future, but also the opportunity of opening up cap space for big moves is very intriguing as well. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this, and what does this mean for the Lions going forward?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I feel like I have to say it every time we talk about Jared Goff in Detroit. I was wrong. I thought he was not going to perform well with the Lions. I thought the Lions were going to try and move off of him as quickly as possible. I was 100% incorrect. The guy's been awesome for Detroit. We'll see how it continues, but he looks like the guy for at least the next year or two for the Detroit Lions. But here's what I think is very interesting about what Holmes is doing as a GM. And it's really smart. I would say a good GM is, I understand it's a football business, but it is a business side. You need a GM who understands the economics and the machinations of running a business. And that's exactly what Holmes does. Let's take this back to the Hawkinson trade last season, who, of course, if Detroit Lions fans, if you haven't heard, signed a massive, I think, overpaid deal with the Minnesota Vikings. Hawkinson at that point last season, he was at the highest point of value for any other potential team. He had a lot of athletic potential, was a young guy, was seen as maybe a final piece on a title contender. The Lions moved off of him, right? That's a definition of selling high. You always hear about buying low and selling high. Trading Hawkinson when the Lions did was a textbook definition of selling high. The Minnesota Vikings bought high. They were then forced to extend and continue their investment. I think it was a bad move from a business perspective from the Minnesota Vikings. And obviously a good move for the Detroit Lions. Here, what the Lions are doing for Jared Goff is a wonderful example of not buying high. Right now, the Detroit Lions, listen, like it or not, there's so much hype, so much momentum, so much energy behind this franchise. And right now, Jared Goff has a lot of that momentum and energy as well. If you extended him today, if you extended him, back in July, back in June, something like that, you were buying high. But you don't need to. You've got time. Jared Goff has still 2 years under his contract, like on the report, like you said. You can wait it out the next 2 years, see how everything shakes out, see how Jared Goff performs, see how other quarterback contracts are structured, and then decide when the right time is to make your investment. There's an old Warren Buffett saying where he's like, when in terms of investing in stocks, you make the money when you buy. I say that applies to managing a football team as well. You make the best roster decisions when you extend the deal, when you sign the contract, when you bring the player in. It's not sometimes so much about the money, it's about picking the right time to do it. And Holmes and company are doing a great job here, waiting this out, keeping the dialogue open, keeping everybody happy, but they want to wait for the exact perfect time to extend Goff. And that also goes hand in hand with evaluating Hendon Hooker as he gets healthy as well. So I think right now the Detroit Lions are handling this absolutely perfectly.